pushing me around, but I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down.
Hi everyone, Jim Rizoli here. Today I am in Toronto with Paul Fromm. He represents the group called CAFE, the Canadian Association for Freedom of Expression. Okay, Paul, I want to ask you a question. What is going on with the free speech issue in Canada? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, well, I think the great Tale of Two Cities opens with the line, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. These are very exciting times in Canada, and Donald Trump and what I call the Trump phenomenon has changed everything. So on the one hand, more people are speaking out, particularly on immigration. There are, for the last few months, every Saturday somewhere in Canada, there's been an anti-immigration protest. A year ago, the only anti-immigration protests might be once or twice a year, and we did them. Now, there are all sorts of groups forming up, falling apart, people very informed, people are not informed at all, but there's a real ferment out there, and people are speaking up. One of the things they're exercising free speech, but they're also very concerned about a motion that was passed by the Canadian Parliament condemning Islamophobia. Now, it's only a motion, it's only like what you'd call the sense of the Congress. It's not legislation. But the Commons Human Affairs Committee has been holding hearings about Islamophobia and, well, what should we do about it? And we know that there are people who would like to impose more restrictions on free speech. It's very dangerous because Islamophobia is a loosey-goosey word that it's hard to know what it means, but it could be defined in such a way that it'd be impossible to criticize Muslim terrorists, the Muslim religion, Sharia law, and so on. But the good thing is, there's a lot of people worried about that. And at these anti-immigration demonstrations, there will be signs that most of them stop Bill 103. And so that awareness is good. And that growing outspokenness, which I attribute to Donald Trump, because people, even if you only follow politics casually, you will know that the controlled media in the United States just blasted him endlessly. I mean, they're on CNN even now. They're just shameless. The commentators or the news readers will tell you the president lied, the president's wrong. No, this is what he said, and some other person said he's wrong. And you know, they're just outright editorializing. But they said about Trump that he was a white supremacist, a xenophobe, a racist, and other things. And I think what people are now thinking is, well, I know if I say something negative about immigration, they might call me a racist, but maybe that's not so bad as I thought it was, because if the President of the United States is a racist, maybe it's not that bad. I mean, he won the election. So that's bubbling along out there. That's what I call the good news. Some people are beginning to get more turned on by the fact that that they have an opinion and should have the right to express that opinion. And we will only succeed when a substantial minority of people are really turned on to freedom. I was talking earlier today to a person who's quite depressed. My good friend Brad Love, he works up in Fort McMurray, and he's in despair about most of his fellow workers. He said they're just the walking dead. They don't care about anything. They don't even care about the government spending. They make a lot of money. They pay high taxes, but they're such sheep. Well, I still have some money. Well, he says, do you own anything? Oh, well, no, the bank does. So I mean, like, if that's what you are, you don't have an opinion on anything, so nobody's ever going to tell you to shut up. So you don't care, but there are people who care, and that's the good thing. The bad thing is, I see a globalist elite in a state of panic, especially after Charlottesville. The sight of hundreds of presentable young men, mostly some young women, parading, caring enough to try to preserve the statue of Robert E. Lee. They're caring enough about tradition. The opposite of what people often say, well, youth are just self-centered, it's all the present. They also were in the Friday night parade, were saying that they no longer wanted to be ruled by Jews, which is kind of important. It touches the 2,000-pound elephant in the room. Jewish supremacist power. The Jewish supremacists have far too much power over the media, entertainment, politics in Canada and the United States. And these young people are saying no. But they weren't the media stereotype of the racially conscious person. This wasn't an overweight Southern Bubba having hardly any teeth and every second word is nigger. These were modern-looking, presentable people. I think they flipped out. I mean, these people have been through their rotten, lying education system. They've been through, exposed to Hollywood media, the Harvey Weinsteins from the get-go, all the dysfunctional propaganda, and they've survived and come out enlightened. I think they're in a state of panic. So there has been and there will be repression, and it will get fierce. Two of the major two of the major websites.
No, we can stop. We'll pick it up. That's what editing is for.
Yeah, that's. Two of the major websites, Stormfront and the Daily Stormer, they weren't just taken down by their internet service provider. They lost their identity. It's as if you woke up tomorrow and your driver's license is no longer valid. You're no longer Jim Rizoli. You're nameless. Anyway, they've managed to get that back. All sorts of groups like the IHR, some groups I know in Canada, the American Free Press have lost their ability to process credit cards, and now that's increasing. That's extremely important because more and more people will pay by credit card, especially online, rather than write a check, etc. And this is done arbitrarily. You just wake up one morning and the organization that provided that credit card processing won't handle you anymore. And of course, some people have lost their jobs. And up here in Canada, I think that there's a playbook because the elected officials, usually before an anti-immigration rally, will say about the same thing. First of all, the mayor of the city will denounce it, that we are an inclusive community, there's no room for racism, which is kind of hysterical because the rally hasn't even occurred yet. What's there to denounce? You don't know what the people are going to say. So the mayor will denounce it. The Premier of Quebec denounced a rally by some French-Canadian nationalists against Muslim immigration. He called it disgusting. It hadn't even occurred yet. So you'll get official condemnations. They will sometimes try to prevent it. In London, Ontario, the city council passed a resolution that racists and ideologies that are not the ideology of the City of London cannot use public spaces, public parks or whatever, or city buildings. And you wonder, what's the ideology of the City of London? Heaven knows. But I mean, that's so open-ended. So there will be, I think, more repression. But what is encouraging is that people are fighting back. just as an example, there's a young guy, a young construction worker in Hamilton, Ontario, who back in August showed up on the job site with his pickup truck and a Confederate flag. He was fired that very day. And I know the company's received quite a bit of criticism for that, where a person is criticized, is fired for, I'm not even sure that's expressing a political view, it's having a flag.
Right, yeah.
But we've seen that, and I think we will see more.
I've heard when people have had demonstrations, they've actually tried to take the American flag away of some people. I've heard that from groups.
Yeah, and Charlottesville was one.
Yeah, Charlottesville, they were trying to take, I mean, even the American flag is considered a terrorist or whatever they, want to do with it. So if they can do that with that one.
Well, I think that there is a globalist agenda to phase out the white race.
Right.
And that if that sounds overly dramatic, you haven't seen commercial ads in Canada recently. The big banks all pump out ads that, especially the Toronto Dominion Bank, that promote the homosexual agenda. The Bank of Montreal, which is one of our bigs, has an ad that is just gratuitously anti-white. And you picture a fairly nice looking young woman, and she's leaning over a desk at some eager looking black. And her father comes in the room, and the stupid father beams and looks at her and says something like, are there wedding bells?
Oh my God.
And she says, oh no, Dad, the Negro, he's my financial advisor. And the father looks crestfallen.
Oh my God.
Now, you wonder, wait a second, what's this promoting? Well, it's an ad sponsored by the bank. It doesn't say, we've got the best financial planners in the world, or something that would push the product. It's like to brain tenderize you to accept race mixed marriage. And I guess the twist is, instead of the father like a who's coming to dinner story, being all upset at the potential mixed race match, he's disappointed that it isn't a romantic situation. She's just consulting her Negro financial advice. It's all such BS.
Right.
But the major corporations are pushing this stuff. It's fanatical.
Right.
There's one of your insurance companies in the States, and I forget which one, I think it's for veterans insurance, and they have several versions of the ad, but it's always a mixed race couple. White woman, black man.
Wow.
We've got a kind of middle-end winery called Inniskillen, and there's a really offensive ad that they put out, and it's kind of two couples in a kind of a chalet setting, that nice place, and they're just getting up from the supper table. One couple are white, and the other couple is a white man and a black woman. The white couple are saying goodbye and they leave, and then the mixed race couple sit down on a nice sofa like this, and the lights are dim, and they're going to have a romantic moment together, and good times go better with Inniskillen wine. They pour a glass of wine. I thought, okay, the idea, from an advertising point of view, up to a point, is good. You associate good times with a glass of wine. Okay, I get it, fair enough, I get that. But why would you have a focus on a mixed race couple? Only 5% of couples in Canada are mixed race. So that's not a hot demographic that you've got to reach.
It seems like they're looking to make it more.
What they're trying to do is push a globalist agenda to get rid of us.
Right.
And there are more people feeling that. So as they begin to push back, and they are in Canada, then the elite that wants to replace us becomes more desperate. So we're in dangerous times. But it is, if I may end on an encouraging note on the free speech issue. about 15 years ago, young people coming into the movement, many of them had the right sentiments. They didn't like immigration and so on, but they didn't know much, and many didn't want to learn. And in some cases, more like youthful rebellion. I really annoyed my liberal parents or my liberal, elders by being, racially conscious. But if you don't learn things, you stagnate and eventually move on, and many did. Today, young people that are coming our way really know things. It's not just that they have the right sentiments, but they're educated. And it sure wasn't from school. And it's through the type of work you're doing, Dr. David Duke's doing, and a number of other people. It's on the internet.
Right.
People can go to university can get a good education. And what my friend Dr. James Sears says, many of these people are quite savvy about who are the major forces behind our dispossession. We've spent decades trying to explain to people that the mortal enemy of freedom of speech in Canada is the organized Jewish lobby. They're the ones who want to take your speech or your free speech away. It's not the blacks that frankly they couldn't organize to the village dump. And yeah,
that's a good one.
far back in the pack is the LGBTQ XYZ lobby, but if you're not knowledgeable about this, again, I don't like to criticize anybody who's doing anything good, but there's some of the anti-immigration rallies also include the JDL. Now I understand the JDL's immigration issue. They don't like Muslims. They ought to actually take that up with their co-religionists, who are the ones who are the major supporters of immigration. But okay. And so at some of these rallies, very prominent is the Israeli flag waving at these anti-immigration rallies. I get the point, but a lot of people are naive and don't see that that Israeli flag is part of the problem. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the young people that I'm running into, they know. Mm-hmm. They're more knowledgeable than my generation. Right. As I kind of said, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. Yeah. But I'm hoping we can turn more and more people on to freedom of speech and the ability to think, and that's what your videos help do. Inspire people to think and look behind the mask.
Well, we're trying. I mean, that's all we can do. I mean, we just get out there and do what we think is important. And I do agree with you about the young people. The young people today, they're not saying much, but they know much because they're very savvy with video. Mm-hmm. And they're watching things and they're taking it in. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to set them off. That's what I find. What's going to set them off to really come out of the closet? Because a lot of them are just sitting back, But at some point it will, I think, anyway. Well, Paul, I want to thank you for your comments on those topics. I'm Jim Rizoli from Toronto. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you another time. Bye now.
In a world that keeps on pushing me